Imagine flipping a switch to give your entire organization the most powerful AI tool on the market, right?
Oh boy. I know where this is going.
Yeah, and then you find out you've accidentally handed a junior employee like a perfectly formatted summary of the CEO's private merger document.
A total disaster.
Exactly. Or maybe even worse, you deploy this massive technological investment, you wait 3 months, and you discover nobody is actually using it.
Because they just don't know how.
Right, and then your finance department is demanding to know why the IT budget has skyrocketed for zero return.
That is basically the nightmare scenario every Microsoft 365 admin is terrified of right now.
It really is. But here's the good news. It is entirely preventable if you just understand the architecture beneath the interface. Hello and welcome. I am Alex, your main host for today's session.
And I'm Alex, your co-host. It's great to be here and unpacking all of this with you today.
Welcome to the admin study room. So today we're focusing on episode 6. We're looking squarely at Copilot administration for the AB-900 exam.
All right, the Microsoft 365 certified Copilot and Agent Administration Fundamentals certification. That's a mouthful.
It is a mouthful. But, if you're preparing to sit for this exam, or honestly, even if you are simply an IT professional just trying to survive the AI rollout at your company, we're mapping out the entire operational footprint today.
We really are. We're going to cover how you actually enable access through licensing.
Yep, and the financial controls, the billing policies that keep your budget intact.
Because finance will definitely be asking about that.
Oh, absolutely. Plus, the difference between tracking user adoption and running a compliance audit, which is huge.
Right, and the infrastructure of managing prompts. And finally, just the basic geography of all the various admin centers.
Exactly. But before we get into the mechanics of all that, this is an independent, unofficial AB-900 study podcast for Microsoft 365 certified Copilot and Agent Administration Fundamentals. It is based on Microsoft's public learn content and is run by AI hosts. It is not affiliated with, authorized, sponsored, or approved by Microsoft.
Okay, so let's start with that nightmare scenario you just mentioned.
The junior employee one.
Yeah, the junior employee getting the CEO's merger documents. Because when an organization decides to roll out Microsoft 365 Copilot, the very first instinct for an admin is usually just to jump straight into the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, right?
Right. They just want to find the user and check a box to assign a license.
Exactly. It feels like installing a piece of software. You buy it, you assign it, you're done.
But treating Copilot like a standalone application that you just download, that's a fundamental misunderstanding of what the tool actually is.
Yeah, it really is.
And I'm glad you brought that up because the concept of user eligibility is really the bedrock of everything we're discussing today.
It's a massive component of the exam, too.
Huge! You cannot just hand a Copilot license to a user in a vacuum. It doesn't work like that.
Right, because the AI doesn't have its own separate database.
Exactly, or its own separate word processor. It is an orchestration engine that basically sits on top of your existing infrastructure.
So for a user to even be eligible to receive that Copilot license, what do they need?
They must have a foundational Microsoft 365-based service plan active first.
We're talking about prerequisites, right? Like a Microsoft 365 E3 or E5 license.
Yep. Or business standard or business premium. If they don't have that base, the Copilot license is useless.
Wait, let me challenge that premise slightly, just for the sake of clarity.
Go for it.
So, if I'm an organization running purely on basic Exchange Online Plan 1 licenses.
Okay, so just webmail.
Right, meaning my users just have webmail, and they have no access to the rich desktop clients like Word, Excel, or PowerPoint. Why can't I just buy Copilot to summarize their webmail?
It's a fair question.
Why do I need the massive E3 or E5 infrastructure just for that?
Well, because Copilot is deeply integrated into the client applications and the broader Microsoft Graph ecosystem.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, if you try to assign a Copilot license to a user who only has, like, a basic email plan, the system is literally going to throw an error.
Really? It just stops you?
Yeah, the Microsoft 365 Admin Center actually runs a prerequisite check. Copilot needs the canvas of Word. It needs the structure of Excel, the communication fabric of Teams to actually do its job.
It makes sense.
Giving a Copilot license to someone without those core services, it's essentially giving them a highly advanced engine for a car that doesn't have a chassis.
Or wheels.
Or wheels, or a steering wheel. The underlying applications must be there for the AI to interact with.
Okay, so that makes the technical dependency clear. But let's return to the security implication.
Oh, that's the big one.
Because this is arguably the most heavily tested concept regarding licensing.
Yes, absolutely. Pay attention to this if you're taking the exam.
There is a deeply ingrained assumption in traditional IT that assigning a new license grants new privileges.
Right, like if I give someone a license to an HR software platform, they suddenly get access to HR data.
Exactly. But that logic completely falls apart with Copilot, doesn't it?
It shatters completely. And this is the boundary line every single admin must memorize. Licensing enables access to the tool, but it does not override data permissions.
Say that again, because it's so important.
Licensing enables access, it does not override permissions.
Right.
Giving someone a Copilot license simply brings the AI interface to life within their apps.
It just turns on the chat window, basically.
Exactly. It does not alter the underlying permissions of the tenant by a single fraction of a degree.
Okay, so let's look at the mechanics of why that is. When a user opens Copilot and types a prompt,
Yeah.
Copilot doesn't actually go out and search the tenant itself.
Right.
It isn't a crawler.
No, it acts more like a dispatcher. Copilot takes the user's prompt and it hands it off to Microsoft Graph.
And Microsoft Graph is really the hero of this story.
Or the villain, depending on how messy your organization's permissions are.
Very true.
But yeah, Graph is the underlying fabric that maps all the relationships between users, emails, files, and chats.
So when Copilot hands that prompt to Graph,
Graph looks at the request and essentially says, okay, I need to find files related to this topic.
but before Graph even begins to retrieve the data, it does something crucial.
Yes, it performs an identity and access check. It looks at the access control list, the ACL, for every single piece of data it indexes.
Okay, this is where we need to walk through that scenario of the junior employee and the CEO's restricted OneDrive again.
Let's do it.
Say the employee types, summarize the upcoming merger from the CEO's files.
A very bold prompt for a junior employee.
Very bold. So Graph receives that request. It queries its index for the keyword merger, and it actually locates the CEO's files.
Right. It knows they exist.
But what happens at that specific microsecond?
At that exact microsecond, Graph checks the token of the user making the request. So our junior employee.
Right.
It checks their token against the access control list of the CEO's file. The ACL acts like a bouncer checking a guest list.
I love that analogy. The bouncer.
Yeah, and the bouncer sees that the junior employee does not have explicit read access to that specific file.
So what does Graph do?
Because the permission is denied at the Graph layer, Graph strips that file out of the results completely.
It just drops it.
Exactly. It returns 0 merger documents to Copilot.
Wow.
So Copilot, having received absolutely nothing from Graph, turns back to the junior employee and generates a response like, I couldn't find any information on that topic, or I don't have access to those files.
So the AI isn't hiding the data.
No, not at all.
It literally never saw the data to begin with.
Yeah.
The security boundary held firm because it was enforced at the data layer, not the application layer.
Exactly. And this is why, data governance is suddenly the hottest topic in IT right now.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
Because for the last 10 years, end users have been doing whatever they want.
Sharing SharePoint links, breaking permission inheritance, dumping sensitive files into public Teams channels just because it was convenient.
And because search was traditionally kind of clunky, nobody really noticed the oversharing.
Right. If a sensitive file was buried 10 folders deep in a public site, it was essentially invisible through obscurity.
But Copilot is the world's most efficient search engine.
It removes the obscurity completely. If the permissions allow access, Copilot will find it, read it, and synthesize it in seconds.
Which is terrifying if your permissions are bad.
Truly terrifying.
So the administrative takeaway here isn't just about knowing where to click to assign the license.
Not at all. It's understanding that turning on the license exposes your existing security posture.
The AI doesn't leak data.
No.
It just highly optimizes the retrieval of data that was already legally accessible to that user.
Exactly. Which means your job as an admin starts long before you even buy the licenses.
You have to clean house first.
You really do. But let's say you've done the cleanup, your data is secure, and you've successfully deployed the tool.
Okay, best case scenario.
Right. Well, it creates an entirely new problem.
Of course it does.
Because if users are constantly querying massive amounts of data, synthesizing complex documents, triggering back-end AI workflows, the computing power required for that is staggering.
And Microsoft doesn't provide infinite compute for free.
No, they certainly do not, which brings us into a vital operational territory for the exam, the financial controls and billing policies.
This is a really fascinating shift in how we manage IT budgets.
It really is.
Because traditionally, software as a service was incredibly predictable. You buy 100 licenses at a flat monthly rate, and your bill is exactly the same in January as it is in December.
Right, it's very clean.
And that standard model still exists for Copilot, right?
It does, yeah. The standard Microsoft 365 Copilot license is that flat, predictable, per-user fee.
Okay.
You pay the annual or monthly commitment, and your users get access to Copilot in Word, PowerPoint, Excel, Teams, and the web.
So they can draft as many emails as they want.
Exactly. They can summarize as many meetings as they want, and that baseline cost doesn't fluctuate.
It's like a flat rate buffet.
Perfect analogy. You pay the entry fee, and you can eat as much as you want from the standard stations.
But then we encounter this concept of pay-as-you-go billing policies.
Right.
If I already paid for the buffet, why is Microsoft suddenly talking about metered billing? Where does this come into play?
Well, pay-as-you-go becomes highly relevant when your organization starts stepping outside the standard, out-of-the-box Microsoft 365 applications.
Okay, so when they start doing custom stuff.
Exactly. When they start heavily utilizing advanced Copilot capabilities, or specifically custom agents.
Custom agents, got it.
Let's say your research and development team builds a highly complex agent in Copilot Studio.
Okay.
This agent doesn't just read SharePoint. It connects to a massive external database, runs heavy back-end computations, pulls in millions of rows of data to answer, like complex engineering queries.
Right, so the standard flat rate license just isn't designed to absorb the compute cost of that kind of heavy specialized back-end processing.
Exactly the issue. So for those specific advanced workloads or custom agent interactions that exceed standard capacities, Microsoft uses a pay-as-you-go model.
And how is that built?
This model is linked directly to an Azure subscription.
Azure. That makes sense.
Yep. Instead of a flat rate, you are paying based on actual consumption. You know, how many times that specific agent is triggered, how many transactions it processes, how much compute it actually consumes.
To borrow your analogy from earlier, this isn't the buffet anymore.
Definitely not.
This is the water meter attached to your house.
Yes. Every time you turn on the tap, the dial spins.
If you use a little water to brush your teeth, the bill is negligible.
Right.
But if you leave a fire hose running in the backyard for a month, your bill is going to be astronomical.
Exactly. And on the AB-900 exam, they want to ensure you know how to manage that fire hose.
Because you can't just let it run.
No, an administrator has to set up the guardrails. You don't just blindly attach an Azure subscription and, hope for the best.
Right, you'd be fired.
Probably. You do this by configuring billing policies within the Microsoft 365 Admin Center.
Okay, so let's walk through what that configuration actually looks like.
Yeah.
I assume I'm not just turning this on for the entire company of 10,000 people by default.
You definitely shouldn't do that.
Okay.
A billing policy allows you to define the specific scope of who can utilize these pay-as-you-go services.
So it's targeted.
Very targeted. You create the policy, link it to the Azure billing profile, and then assign it to a specific subset of users or a specific security group. So you might only assign the policy to that R&D team that actually needs the heavy compute power.
And the rest of the company?
The rest of the company stays on the standard flat rate buffet. They don't even see the metered stuff.
Got it. And once that policy is active, the administrative burden kind of shifts from configuration to monitoring, doesn't it?
Oh, big time.
Yeah.
You absolutely cannot set it and forget it.
Because I would imagine a scenario where, like, a developer builds an agent, makes a mistake in the logic, and accidentally creates an infinite loop.
Oh, no.
Yeah, an infinite loop that queries an external database 10,000 times an hour over a holiday weekend.
That is the exact scenario that keeps financial controllers awake at night. And it's why the Microsoft 365 Admin Center provides billing and usage reports specifically so you can monitor that pay-as-you-go consumption.
So as an operational best practice, admins have to review those metrics.
Regularly. If you see a massive unexplained spike in agent queries, you have to investigate immediately.
You have to figure out, is it a broken workflow looping endlessly?
Right. Or did the R&D team just launch a massive project, which means the usage is legitimate, but now you need to go request a budget increase?
It really forces the IT administrator to act almost like a financial analyst.
It really does. You aren't just keeping servers online anymore. You are actively managing the consumption of a highly variable resource.
Which naturally leads to the next massive question leadership is going to ask.
Let me guess, are we getting our money's worth?
Exactly. If we are spending all this money on flat rate licenses and Azure-backed billing policies, are we actually getting any value out of it? Is it working?
That is the multi-million-dollar question for most enterprises right now.
Seriously.
And it brings us into a very testable area for the exam, which is measuring success, usage, and adoption.
And the challenge here is that Microsoft uses several terms that sound incredibly similar, but represent entirely different data
Oh,
sets.
yes, and they require entirely different administrative tools.
So let's establish a baseline difference first. Because we hear usage and adoption thrown around interchangeably in meetings all the time.
Constantly.
But from an administrative and exam perspective, they are not synonyms.
Far from it. Usage is a raw binary metric. It just answers the question, did someone click the button?
Okay, so just clicks.
Yeah. If you go into the standard Microsoft 365 Admin Center and look at the basic usage reports, it will tell you how many active users you have.
Like, out of our 1,000 licensed users,
Right.
800 interacted with Copilot at least once in the last 30 days.
Exactly. That is usage. It tells you the lights are on.
But it doesn't tell you if the lights are illuminating anything useful. Because a user clicking the Copilot button in Word, getting frustrated because it didn't do what they wanted,
Right.
and then closing the app, that still counts as usage.
Precisely the problem. And that is why we have to look at adoption.
Okay, so how is adoption different?
Adoption is not about clicking a button. It is about behavioral change.
Behavioral change.
Yeah. Are users incorporating this AI into their daily workflows in a way that fundamentally alters how they work?
Are they saving time?
Are they producing better work? To measure that deep behavioral change, those basic admin center reports are completely insufficient.
You need something stronger.
You have to use a specialized tool.
And for the exam, that tool is Copilot Analytics.
Yes, Copilot Analytics is the premier destination for reviewing adoption trends and organizational impact signals.
Okay, so what does it actually do?
It takes that raw usage data and applies a layer of intelligence to it. It doesn't just look at clicks, it looks at patterns.
Give me an example of a pattern.
Okay, so it might provide insights into how many hours across the organization were potentially saved because users had Copilot draft initial documents or summarize lengthy email threads rather than reading them all manually.
I want to pause on that because understanding the mechanism of Copilot Analytics is vital for the exam.
Sure.
How does it know how many hours were saved?
Mm-hmm.
It isn't like watching the user type, is it?
No, it uses telemetry and impact signals.
Telemetry.
It takes the average time a human typically spends drafting a 500-word email or reading a 10-message thread, and it compares that to the seconds it took Copilot to generate the same output.
And then it aggregates that time saved across the entire tenant.
Exactly. It provides leadership with a tangible metric of return on investment.
That's really cool.
It is. It can show you trend lines, too. Like, perhaps your marketing team has a 90% active adoption rate, but your legal team has a 10% rate.
Which tells you exactly where you need to focus your internal training efforts.
Exactly.
But here is where we hit a massive operational trap.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
Because Copilot Analytics provides such deep insights into user behavior, there is a huge temptation to use it as a surveillance tool.
Yes, do not do this.
Let's look at a very common scenario.
Okay.
Let's say I am an IT manager, and the legal department comes to me panicking.
Naturally.
They suspect that customer service representatives are taking sensitive customer credit card numbers from our database and pasting them into the Copilot chat window to generate apology emails.
Which is a huge compliance violation.
Huge. So legal demands that I pull a report of every single prompt typed by the customer service team to prove no data is leaking.
Right.
Since Copilot Analytics tracks user behavior and prompts, I should just export a report from there, right?
I am so glad you set up that scenario because that is a classic, highly testable exam trap.
It sounds so logical, though.
It does, but the answer is an absolute definitive no. You do not use Copilot Analytics for that, and in fact, you literally cannot use it for that.
Wait, really? Why not? The tool has the word analytics in the title. Shouldn't it analyze what the users are typing?
This goes back to a fundamental design philosophy Microsoft had to implement to comply with global privacy laws, European Works Councils, and just general employee trust.
Privacy.
Copilot Analytics is designed entirely around productivity, adoption, and time saved. The data it provides is aggregated and anonymized to protect user privacy.
So you can't see the individual prompts.
No. It is specifically engineered so that leadership can see the return on investment without being able to spy on individual employees.
Wow. Oh,
Copilot Analytics is not a surveillance tool. It is not an auditing tool.
that's a great phrase to remember. Not a surveillance tool.
Right. If you go in there looking for a specific user-specific prompt about a credit card, you will come up empty-handed.
Okay, so what does that panicking IT manager actually do then?
Good question.
If Copilot Analytics is the wrong tool, What is the right tool to give legal what they want?
If you need to investigate sensitive data leakage, or if you are responding to a legal e-discovery request, or if you need to run a compliance audit on user actions.
Basically, anytime legal is involved.
Exactly. You must leave the analytics environment entirely and go to Microsoft Purview.
Microsoft Purview.
Purview is the heavy-duty engine for governance, risk, and compliance.
Let's unpack the mechanics of Purview in this context. How does it actually solve the legal department's problem?
Well, Purview houses the unified audit log.
Okay.
When a user interacts with Copilot, certain metadata about that interaction is logged in Purview. But more importantly, Purview is where you configure data loss prevention or DLP policies.
Right, DLP.
You don't have to wait for the legal team to panic. You can proactively build a DLP policy in Purview that identifies sensitive information types,
Like credit card numbers.
like credit card numbers, social security numbers, or specific project code names.
And what happens if someone types that in?
If a user tries to paste a credit card number into Copilot, that Purview DLP policy intercepts the action in real time.
Real-time interception.
Yes, it can block the prompt entirely, it can flag it for a security review, and it can generate an alert for the admin.
That distinction is so critical for anyone taking the AB-900 exam. We really have to draw a hard line in the sand here.
Absolutely.
So Copilot Analytics equals productivity, behavioral trends, and hours saved.
Right.
Microsoft Purview equals compliance, governance, unified auditing, and data loss prevention.
You got it. If an exam scenario mentions legal holds, insider risk, sensitive data types, or providing evidence of compliance,
Your brain must immediately route to Purview.
yes. And if the scenario asks about measuring return on investment, identifying which department is utilizing the tool the most, or tracking feature adoption.
Your brain routes to Copilot Analytics.
Exactly. Keep those boundaries rigid and you will navigate those tricky scenario questions with ease.
Perfect.
Now, while Purview handles the hardcore compliance auditing of what users are typing, administrators do have some logistical control over the prompt experience itself.
Right, you aren't just sitting back and watching the data flow.
No, you have to build the infrastructure for how users actually interact with the AI. And that brings us to the concept of managing and governing prompts.
Oh, this is an area that I see confuse even veteran IT professionals.
Really? Why do you think that is?
Largely because the industry terminology is evolving so fast, everyone hears the phrase prompt engineering constantly.
Oh, yes. It's everywhere.
But for this exam, we are talking about prompt management. What is the actual difference from an administrative perspective?
The difference is monumental. When we talk about prompt management in the context of the AB-900 exam, we are talking strictly about configuring tenant-level settings.
Okay.
Settings that control the lifecycle, visibility, and infrastructure of prompts within your organization.
What does that mean practically?
We are talking about the features that allow users to save a great prompt they wrote, share that prompt with their colleagues, or publish it to an organizational library.
Let's test that assumption to make sure it's clear.
Go ahead.
If I am the administrator, does prompt management mean I am reviewing the prompts my marketing team writes to make sure they're using the right keywords? Am I editing their prompts to get better AI outputs?
Absolutely not. And this is the trap you must avoid. Prompt management is not prompt engineering.
Okay.
Prompt engineering is an end-user skill.
Not an admin skill.
Exactly. It is the art of teaching a human being how to write a better, more specific instruction to get a higher quality result from the AI.
Like telling a user to add the phrase, act as a senior financial analyst to their prompt.
Right. That is prompt engineering. That is a training issue, not an IT administration issue.
I see where you're going. So how should an admin visualize their role in this?
Think of it like a filing cabinet.
Okay, a filing cabinet.
As the administrator, you are the one purchasing and assembling the filing cabinet. You decide if the company is allowed to have a filing cabinet at all.
Right.
You configure the settings to decide if there is a shared drawer where the marketing team can drop their best templates for everyone else to use. You might put locks on certain drawers or set a policy that says any document left in the cabinet for more than 90 days is automatically shredded.
Okay, I love this.
You are managing the container, the flow, and the retention of the prompts. You are not writing the documents that go inside the cabinet.
That analogy perfectly crystallizes it. The IT admin builds the infrastructure. The end user provides the content.
Exactly.
So, practically speaking, what does a prompt management task actually look like in the admin portal?
It looks like toggling organizational features.
Like what?
For example, Microsoft offers features where users can access a library of suggested prompts. As an admin, you might go into the settings and enable the ability for your organization to publish custom prompts to that library.
Oh, nice.
Or you might decide whether users are allowed to save their personal prompt history. These are tenant-level toggle switches that dictate the capabilities of the interface.
Okay, so if we pull back and look at the big picture of what we've covered so far.
That's a lot.
It is a lot. The role of the administrator is incredibly orchestrated.
Ah.
You assign the base prerequisites and the license to open the door.
Yep.
You rely on Microsoft Graph to enforce the permission so they don't see the CEO's files.
Crucial step.
You configure an Azure billing policy so their custom agents don't bankrupt the IT department.
Keeps finance happy.
You check Copilot Analytics to ensure they are actually adopting the workflow.
Right.
You use Purview to ensure they aren't leaking credit cards, and you manage the tenant settings to give them a filing cabinet to share their best prompts.
That is the complete operational lifecycle right there. You nailed it.
Awesome.
But here is the ultimate catch for anyone taking the AB-900 exam or working in the real world.
What's the catch?
Microsoft did not put all of these controls in one single magical dashboard.
Of course they didn't.
Right. If you try to find your pay-as-you-go billing policies inside the Purview compliance portal, you are going to be staring at a blank screen.
Because it's in the wrong place.
Exactly. Knowing exactly where to click is just as important as knowing what to click.
Which maps perfectly to our final major topic.
Yeah.
Admin center selection and operational best practices.
Yes, the geography of the portals.
Because the exam will absolutely test your recognition of the different administrative jurisdictions.
It will. Now, it's not about memorizing every single click path, because honestly, the UI changes too often for that.
Sure.
But it is about knowing the primary purpose of each portal.
So let's map out the territory.
Let's do it.
We have to start with the center of the universe for a Microsoft 365 administrator. The Microsoft 365 Admin Center.
Right. I like to think of the Microsoft 365 Admin Center as the front desk of your organization.
The front desk, I like that.
Hmm.
What specifically falls under its jurisdiction in regards to Copilot?
Well, everything foundational happens here. This is where you create and manage your active users.
Okay.
This is where you assign those foundational E3 or E5 licenses, and this is where you assign the actual Copilot licenses.
So users and licenses are at the front desk.
Yep. And if you need to set up the billing policy we discussed earlier, linking an Azure subscription to manage pay-as-you-go costs,
You do that here too.
you do it right here at the front desk in the billing section.
Okay, that's good to know.
You'll also find the basic tenant-level Copilot settings here, like turning the overall service on or off, and those raw basic usage reports that just tell you if people are clicking the button.
Okay, so the front desk handles the identities, the money, and the basic access.
Exactly.
But what about the deep, nuanced AI tracking we talked about? Where do I go to see the hours saved or manage that prompt filing cabinet?
For the nuanced AI-specific tasks, you navigate to the Copilot admin experiences.
Copilot admin experiences.
Think of this as a specialized office located just behind the front desk. This area is dedicated exclusively to the nuances of Copilot. This is the home of Copilot Analytics.
Ah, so analytics lives here.
Yep. When you need that deep adoption tracking, the behavioral trends, the impact signals, you come here.
Makes sense.
This is also where you handle the prompt management, configuring those organizational libraries and prompt sharing settings. It's the dedicated dashboard for the AI's performance and interface infrastructure.
That makes logical sense. So Microsoft 365 Admin Center for the broad strokes in the billing, Copilot admin experiences for the analytics and the prompt infrastructure.
You got it.
But we also have to map out what I call the do not enter zones for core Copilot administration.
Oh, yes. This is vital.
These are portals that are vital to the ecosystem, but they serve highly specific, boundary-defined purposes.
Right.
The first major one is the Entra Admin Center.
Yes, this is a critical boundary. The Entra Admin Center, which was formerly known as Azure Active Directory, is the identity engine of your entire tenant.
Right.
For the purposes of this exam, you use Entra only for identity, authentication, and group context.
Let's look at the mechanics of that. Why wouldn't I manage Copilot licenses in Entra since Entra holds all the user accounts?
Because Entra's job is to prove WHO you are, not what you bought.
Oh, that's a great distinction.
You go to Entra when you need to configure a conditional access policy. Think of Entra as the passport control at the border. Passport control, okay. Before a user can even get to the Copilot buffet inside the country, Entra has to check their passport.
Right.
If a user is trying to log in from an unsecured public Wi-Fi network at a coffee shop, Entra is the system that intercepts that login and says, wait, you need to provide a multi-factor authentication token before I let you through.
So Copilot completely relies on Entra to secure the identity.
Absolutely. But you do not configure Copilot features from Entra.
Password control is a great way to visualize it. What about the next boundary zone, which we touched on earlier?
The Microsoft Purview portal.
Right.
Again, this is a strict boundary. You use Purview only for governance, compliance, auditing, and data security.
Okay.
You do not assign licenses here. You do not check adoption metrics here.
You go to Purview for the heavy compliance stuff.
Yes. To configure the data loss prevention policies, to run discovery searches for legal, to apply sensitivity labels to your documents. Purview ensures that when the AI operates, it operates within the legal and regulatory bounds of your company.
Got it. And just to round out the map, there is one more admin center that often appears in the exam objectives.
Right, though we will cover it deeply in a future session.
The Power Platform Admin Center.
Yes. For now, simply recognize that this is the jurisdiction only for agent administration.
Agent administration, okay.
Specifically when you are dealing with custom agents built via Copilot Studio or Power Apps. It is the workshop where the custom bots are managed.
So instead of just listing these off, let's explore how this actually works in the real world.
Oh, I love real-world scenarios.
Because real IT administration is rarely a single click in a single portal. It's usually collaborative troubleshooting across multiple systems.
Oh, always.
I was working on a scenario recently that illustrates this perfectly.
Let's hear it.
So a user called the help desk, extremely frustrated. They said, I know I have a Copilot license. My manager told me it was approved. But when I open my Word application on my desktop, the Copilot button simply isn't there. My coworker sitting right next to me has it, but I don't.
Oh, I've seen that ticket 100 times.
Right. So where does an admin even begin to untangle that?
That is the perfect operational scenario because it forces you to traverse the whole ecosystem we just mapped out.
Where do you start?
Step one is always verifying the foundation. I would go to the Microsoft 365 Admin Center, the front desk, and look up that specific user.
Okay.
I need to verify two things. Do they actually have the prerequisite base license, like an E3? And is the Copilot license actually toggled on?
Because sometimes managers say it's approved, but it hasn't actually been assigned.
Exactly. But let's assume you check, and yes, the licensing is perfect.
Right. The front desk says they're fully authorized. So where is the disconnect?
If the license is valid, the most common culprit is the deployment architecture of the app itself.
The app itself.
Yeah. Copilot requires the Microsoft 365 applications to be on a specific modern update channel.
Ah, update channels.
Microsoft pushes updates through different cadences, the current channel, the monthly enterprise channel, or the semi-annual channel.
Right.
Copilot requires the newer channels. If this user's Word application is stuck on a delayed semi-annual update channel from 9 months ago, the code for the Copilot button literally does not exist on their hard drive yet.
Wow. Even though the cloud says they have the license.
Exactly. The local application just can't render it. So I would check their update channel deployment settings.
And that often involves a completely different set of device management tools or group policies.
Yes, it does.
It really shows how Copilot administration bleeds into endpoint management.
It touches everything. And there's one final troubleshooting step that admins often overlook. Communication.
Communication.
Yeah. Did we actually inform the user how to find the tool?
Oh, like user error.
Sometimes the button is there, but they're looking in the wrong ribbon tab. Or they haven't refreshed their application token by signing out and signing back in.
Just a classic, turn it off and on again.
Basically, the technical deployment is really only half the battle. The human deployment is the rest.
That holistic approach is what separates a good admin from a great one. You really have to understand the licensing, the endpoint architecture, and the user psychology.
You really do. Well, as we bring this study session to a close, let's just crystallize the absolute core boundaries you must take with you into the AB-900 exam and into your production environments.
Let's do a quick recap.
First and foremost, licenses versus permissions.
Right.
Licensing enables the interface to turn on. Microsoft Graph enforces the data permissions. Giving a user a Copilot license is not a security bypass. They will only ever see the data they already had explicit permission to access.
The second major boundary, Copilot Analytics versus Microsoft Purview. If you are trying to measure productivity, track behavioral adoption, and calculate hours saved, you navigate to Copilot Analytics.
Exactly.
But if you were trying to prevent data leakage, run a compliance audit, or satisfy a legal e-discovery request, you navigate to Microsoft Purview. Never confuse the two.
And the third boundary, prompt management versus prompt engineering.
Oh, this is a big one.
As the IT administrator, your job is prompt management. Configuring the tenant-level settings, the filing cabinet that dictates how prompts are saved, shared, and retained.
Right.
You do not teach the users how to write better prompts. That is prompt engineering, which is an end-user training function.
This has been an incredibly deep exploration of the ecosystem.
It really has.
And I want to leave you, the listener, with a final thought to mull over as you continue your exam prep. Think about how Copilot administration represents a massive evolution for IT professionals.
It's huge.
10 years ago, the job was highly binary. Is the server on or is the server off? Is the mailbox full or is it empty?
Very black and white.
Right. But today, you are managing cognitive resources.
Okay.
You are balancing Azure compute financial models against human adoption psychology.
Wow.
You are configuring tools that actively synthesize corporate knowledge. The administrator of tomorrow is no longer just a technologist. You are part data governance officer, part financial analyst, and part behavioral economist.
That is a powerful and very accurate way to view the future of our industry.
I think so, too.
The role is expanding, and by mastering the fundamentals of the AB-900, you are building the exact foundation you need to navigate that future.
Best of luck on the exam.
Yes. Thank you for joining us today in the Admin Study Room. This episode is a study aid, not official exam guidance. Always verify important details against the latest Microsoft documentation. We will see you in the next study session.